Hey guys, Jim here, coming at you today with a quick review of the Athlon Rangecraft Velocity Pro chronograph. These came out earlier this year. I think they first started shipping back in June, and we actually published our written review on July 18th on the oldsavageshooter's.com website. But as you may know, we decided to shut down the website. Not sure what's going to come of that in the future yet. Toying with some ideas, but something will be coming back. To what extent, I'm not sure. But anyway, we're here today to talk about the Rangecraft. So the Rangecraft comes in a nice little storage pouch, and if you open it up here, you'll find there's a little pouch up top. It's got your owner's manual and your recharging cord, which will plug it into any USB port and recharge the lithium-ion battery within the unit. You get the main unit itself, which is nice and small and compact, and you get a nice aluminum tripod that you can see here. We'll go ahead and throw the case out of the way for now. The tripod you can set up on your bench and just screw on to the bottom of the unit like that, and you can have it sitting there while you're doing your shooting. Now the nice thing I like about this unit is, number one, it's all contained in one piece. It is a Doppler style chronograph, so there's no tripod needed. You don't have screens out in front that you have to set up. There's no wires coming back to the main unit. None of that garbage. It just sits right on your bench just like this. You want to set it off to the side of your rifle about 6 inches or so. I usually put mine back behind the muzzle about 6-8 inches so it doesn't catch any of the muzzle blast, and I've had great success with it. So a few things about this that I really like are, let's go ahead and power it up here. So you see, as it comes on, it comes into a normal little launch screen, and it'll just tell you to press OK to continue, and you'll get your startup menu here. You've got some options. Quick start session, which is basically, I'm not worried about putting in a bunch of info. I just want to go ahead and do my shooting. So if I click OK on that, it gives me the options to shoot rifle, pistol, archery, air gun, and other. And it pretty much, the velocity range of the round that you're shooting is pretty much going to determine where we're at here. This will basically chronograph anything, I think, between 60 feet per second and 5,000 feet per second. So it'll work for most any kind of projectile you want to send downrange and get a speed on. So we're just going to rifle here, since that's what I normally use. Now here it gives you an option for select your velocity range. You have 1,800 feet per second to 5,000 feet per second, which is going to be your high power rifles. And then they have an 800 or a 600 feet per second to 1,800 feet per second, which is primarily going to be your rimfires. You could use that for most handguns as well. But like I said, they have a separate section for pistols, so don't know why you do that, but primarily for rimfire. So we're just going to go ahead and select the 1,800 to 5,000 here, and you're ready to go. There's no other data or info to put in. Now if we back out of that, and we go down to new session and start into that, again we're asked what kind of weapon we're going to be chronographing: rifle, pistol, archery, air gun, other. We'll go into rifle again just for consistency. It gives you the same velocity options. We'll do the 1,800 to 5,000. Now when we're in new session, it's going to ask you to enter the weight of your bullet. So you can go into here and you're going to use the up and down arrows to change the weight. So we're going to say we're doing our 105 Burger Hybrid, so we'll drop that down to 1. Then you hit the option, the middle button, to move to the next number. go down to 0. Next button, go up to 5. Next button down to 0, and click OK. And we're back to the same screen before. So the only difference between quick start and new session is entering the bullet weight. And what that's going to give you is there's a power factor built into the chronograph, and it'll give you a reading for power factor for how much energy or whatever you're putting down range on target. So that's really the only difference. And if pretty much I do everything in quick start. I don't need to enter the bullet weight because you can go ahead and put that in if you have your phone linked to it through the Athlon Ballistic app. You can go ahead and enter the bullet weight in there later, so you don't really need to do it here. So there's that. Now let me back out of here again. The next option would be previous session. Now I don't have any saved right now because I cleared it out and reformatted the memory, but that's where you would go into, and it'll show you a list of all your different strings that you have shot, and you can go into each string and see each individual shot, and it'll give you the standard deviation, the extreme spread, all of that stuff right in there for each one of those strings. Now there's no way in the unit itself to put in a your rifle, your load data, nothing like that. That you can do to a degree in the mobile app. So if you have this paired with your phone, which most people will, you can go in there and you can save loads and then basically assign these to that load, and that way it'll be stored with that rifle and load data for that particular firearm, and you can reference it back at other times. So that's a nice feature. I haven't played with the mobile app much. In fact, I just finally was able to get registered on it today. Back in June, July, when I was doing my testing, I was having a problem to where I couldn't get down to click the submit button on their app because I couldn't scroll down. It was covered up by something else. And so they must have revamped it a little bit, updated it since then, because today I was able to. And the only reason I tried it was because I wanted to make sure I was up to date on the firmware on the unit. I haven't used this since probably late August. So, hunting season came in, I was busy with that, wasn't really doing a lot of range work. Got my little handy dandy cheat sheet here for the specifications. The Rangecraft is waterproof, IP67 rated. Rechargeable lithium ion battery, very compact, large LCD screen, Athlon Ballistic app compatible, which we've talked about. Point and shoot precision, just align the chronograph to your target and shoot. Tracking correct bullet when multiple shooters. When I got this back in June and I took it to the range the first couple of times, everybody and their brother was just drooling over this thing. And I know at least 8 of the guys at the range have bought one of these now. So if we're all, if there's a bunch of us out to the range on a given day, there might be 4 or 5 of these up and down the line, and so you're not. It won't pick up cross shots that we've experienced. We've actually tested it with putting 4 guys right in a row on benches next to each other, each of us running our chronograph, and it wasn't picking up anybody else's shots. Really happy with that, because I know that's been a problem with some of these other Doppler style chronographs. So intuitive interface, like I said, it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of extra options or anything in there. It's very straightforward, very easy to use. Like I said, when I got it and was taking it to the range and showing it off to some of the guys that were really interested in it, some of them I would just hand it to them, and I'd tell them how to turn it on, hold the button down. But other than that, I kind of just let them figure out how to use it, and all of them had it up and running and were shooting within a minute. So very, very simple and intuitive to use, which I really like. The firmware updates are through Bluetooth. So if you do want to update the firmware, you have to do it through your phone or an iPad that has internet, or any tablet that has internet for Bluetooth capability. That's the only thing I see as a downside, because you can plug it in with the USB cord to your computer. So why you can't download and install the firmware via your PC, I don't know. I'm kind of an old school guy. I don't live vicariously through my phone. So I still do everything on my desktop PC, and that's the thing there. The other thing it doesn't have directly through the unit is you can't download your shot strings directly from the unit to your PC. The only way to do that is through the app, and again, that's something I'd like to see changed and updated, just because again, I'm not a big smartphone guy. I don't like having a ton of apps on it and stuff like that. I just like to keep things simple. So that's where I am on that. Specifications: battery, I said, is lithium ion. Battery life is up to 6 hours. Now I will tell you, that is a very conservative rating. This has been sitting in the case since sometime mid-August, and I am still at probably 90% battery life with it being turned off. And I have used it at the range, had it at the range, and had it in constant use with passing it around to everybody to let them check it out for 4+ hours, and it only ever got down to 50%. So the battery life is very, very good on these. Operating range temperature wise is 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, or -10 Celsius to 55 Celsius. That should cover most people. Now if you're in up north in the colder environments, you might want to take it out in the middle of January or February. Might be too cold for that. Or if you're down in Phoenix, Flagstaff areas, and down in the southwest where it gets super, super hot, might not want to take it out if you got one of them really scorcher kind of days. Let's see, display size is 2.4 inches. The display type is trans-reflective LCD screen. Now I will say, you do get reflection on the screen, and you might have to tip it a little bit to be able to read it. That's one thing. If they went to a different type of screen, might make it a little bit better, or at least put an anti-glare coating on the back of on the screen itself, so you didn't get that reflection. Screen resolution is 240 by 320. Display radar types, Doppler radar, as I said. Velocity range is 65 to 5,000 feet per second. Velocity accuracy is ±0 or ±0.1%. Tripod mount is a standard 1/4-20 thread. Connector types is a standard USB-C. Weight of the chronograph is 4.7 ounces. Tripod weight's 4.3 ounces. So you're under 3/4 of a pound with the full assembled unit here. Like I said, very lightweight, very compact, very maneuverable, really nice. So pricing is one area that has some wide variation to it. If you go to Athlon's website today, which is December 20th or 21st, their price is $499.99, which is basically MSRP. If you go to Midway USA, it's $349.99, so basically $150 cheaper. If you go to Brownell's website, it's $399.99, so basically $100 cheaper than Athlon's website. So this is clearly something that you're going to want to shop around on and find the best price, because it is going to vary widely from retailer to retailer. Anything else? The dimensions for The package is, or for the carry case, is 6 inches by 5.2 inches by 1.8 inches. So it fits in it'll fit in your range box or range bag real easy. No problems there. But as far as specs and stuff, that pretty much covers the gamut. Again, very, very impressed with this unit. It just works really good. The only thing I really noticed on it, the only gripe I could really have would be that the buttons feel kind of cheap and chintzy. And but there's a reason this is a couple $100 cheaper than the Garmin. They had to cut some corners to get the price down to be able to come in and that much under the competition. So that's about the only thing I'd have to complain about. Now for your charging, basically over here under what would be the left side, if you're looking at the screen, there's a little rubber flap you can pull out, and you'll find your USB-C port right there. So you can charge it up. You can charge it up in your car if you have USB ports in your car. You can charge it up off your PC, your laptop. If you're going to be doing a long range session at the range, doing a lot of chronograph work, for the better part of the day, you can actually get a USB power pack and plug it in right to that. So plenty of options, and it, as I said, it just works great. My previous chronograph, well, I still have it, but the one I used to use was a CED Millennium 2, and great chronograph, did everything I wanted it to. No issues there, but it was just a pain in the butt to take out and set up at the range, because I had to bring out the tripod, had to set up the screens, had to align the screens to my rifle and all that stuff. And it was, not that it's hard, but it's just a kind of a pain in the butt. And I found more often than not, I didn't bother to take my chronograph to the range. This is always in my range bag. If I go to the range, I'm setting it up on the bench because it's so easy to use. And most, pretty much every shot I'm taking down range, I'm getting a speed reading on. So that's really, to me, the beauty of this, is its simplicity of use, its compact size, its ease of setup, just makes it a wonderful, wonderful thing. So yeah, if you're in the market for a chronograph, I'd really say you'd be hard pressed to find a better unit for a better price that is more compact, easy to use, and just does what it says it's going to do. So if you're in the market for a chronograph, be sure to check out the Athlon Rangecraft Velocity Pro. I don't think anybody would be disappointed with it. If there is somebody disappointed with it, I would be very much surprised. So that's all I've got for you today. I do have a scope review from Athlon that'll be coming up in another week or two. So we'll see you soon. Have a good one.